Hey everybody, this is Ace Fakay. Here again with another video. I haven't done one in a little while. I've done quite a number of blogs recently with PowerShell about PowerShell usage with Office 365 or general Windows administration. So you can check out my blog site, and I'll tell you the link in a little bit. But this right now, we're going to talk about Active Directory's reliance on DNS. DNS is the absolute basis behind Active Directory. This is how Active Directory domain controllers, clients, and any other domain-enabled Active Directory-enabled object or application, directory-enabled application, I should say, even like it includes Exchange, SCCM. There's a number of products that actually use Active Directory. They use DNS to find the domain controllers to log in, authenticate, or whatnot. If you're using the incorrect DNS addresses on your machines, it's not going to work. What kind of incorrect DNS addresses am I talking about? Well, your ISPs. Your ISP is good for your home system or setup. If you don't have a domain, an Active Directory domain, nothing to do with a website domain, although they can't. That is another discussion. I don't want to confuse the issue here. This is specifically just about Active Directory. If you have your ISP's DNS in the machine's DNS in the network card properties, you're not going to be able to find a domain. That's the same as if I look at the refrigerator and I'm short on milk. Oh, better you guys can relate with I'm short on beer if you like alcoholic beverages or whatnot. If not, we'll use the milk analogy. Either way, I can't find what I'm looking for by my refrigerator. I open my front door, I go outside, I see the first person out there walking by, and I don't know him, and I'll yell out, "Hey, where is my beer? I had a whole case of beer, or a gallon of milk, whatever, and I can't seem to find it. Do you know where it is?" He's going to look at me like, huh? So obviously he doesn't have that answer. Not that the fact that he knows me, but that he doesn't know me. But that's the same thing when your computer is configured to use your ISP's DNS address. It's not going to have the answer. Hey, during the logon process, because keep in mind when a machine boots up, your computer, your workstation, or even a server, there's 4 events that occur. There's a startup, log on, log off, and shutdown. So in a joined machine, a machine is joined to the domain. When it boots up, it's actually going to look for the domain to log in, because this way it can run any kind of startup scripts and whatever other policies that apply to it. And then, of course, you log in. So during that point in time, it's going to look for during the logon during the DC locator process, it needs to find a domain, so it's going to query DNS. So if you have your ISP's DNS address in there, or here's another thing: if you have your router's your router's DNS address in your network card properties, it's not going to find it either. Why would your router be in there? Well, because these home residential ISPs solutions, they use a router that will actually give out the IP address of itself as a DNS address when you use it as a DHCP server. I highly suggest in situations like that. Sometimes it's actually hard to change that out without some fine detail data about the router or firewall itself that they're using, like these like Verizon's modems or Comcast modems. It could be anything, DSL modems, etc. Without calling tech support, sometimes they don't even know. Well, I mean, I'm sure they could help you figure it out. But a lot of times I'll suggest to go purchase a different router, Linksys, Netgear, D-Link. I'm not here trying to sell you on any kind of specific product, but anyway, this way you have more control. I mean, I'd rather see you use a Cisco ASA or it doesn't matter, whatever you want to use. No worries on that part. Specifically, I want to talk about here is my is this blog here, Active Directory's reliance on DNS and using ISP's DNS address. What are the implications behind that? And I gave you a good analogy with the milk and beer. So here's my analogy here about you sit down for a bowl of cereal, you don't have any milk, and you run out the door, and you ask the guy, hey. Anyway, let's take a look at, and these are one of many blogs that I have. You can see my address up here. If you go to blogs.msvps.com/acevk, there I have a whole list of blogs. You're just looking at one of them right now. Today's date right now, just to go over, is October 19th at 11:50 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm in the Philadelphia region. Anybody in Philly here, come on down and say hi. Anyway, let's log into this guy here. This is London DC1 or LON DC1. This is obviously a domain controller. I'm going to pull up a PowerShell window just so I can use it as a command prompt. Many things do work in the PowerShell window. Some things don't. Anyway, I'll go over that in a minute. Right now, you can see my IP address for this DC. It's 172.16.0.10, and you can see it's pointing to itself. You can actually go into DNS, and you can actually see what's in here. And I'll go over some of this stuff here. Under forward lookup zones, you have your data.com, you have your sites SRV data. You have your TCP and UDP services. Domain DNS zones, that's your partition for your data that you're going to store in. Actually, I'll just show you where that is real quick here. I'm going to go over that in a separate video. If I go right here, and it's going to be stored in Active Directory. This is going to be an Active Directory integrated zone. That means the data is actually stored in the AD database. I could change the replication scope. Right now, this to all servers running on domain controllers or domain, that's actually the domain DNS zones container. If I selected the forest here, that would be this one. Let me move this down so I don't lose that window right here. All right. This one at the bottom here, this doesn't show up. You have to actually pull up ADSI edit to take a look at where that is. Actually, I'll show you that real quick. I'll pull up ADSI edit here. If I go in here, connect to default naming contents, which is the domain. Drill down here. System. Let me expand that. Microsoft DNS. That's where this was where the zone would be if I had selected that. So if I go back to DNS here and data.com properties, go back into here. If I had selected that, it would go in there. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that just to show you. Like if I selected that, yep. So now I'm going to hit apply. Going to go in ADSI edit here. I'm going to just refresh the window, and there's the data.com zone. Okay, I'm going to go back to DNS, and I'm going to change that back to where it was, to all servers running in the domain. And I'm going to say yes, and you know what, I'm not going to hit apply yet. I'm going to go back to ADSI edit. I'm going to show you how to get into that. Connect to, I'm going to call it a domain zones, and I want to actually connect to DC equals comma DC equals a datum, comma DC equals com. Notice how I have to enter that? I mean, that doesn't have to be upper lowercase, but anyway, if I don't get an error like referral return from server, that would be an error, means I can't find it. Then I know I made a mistake and typed it out. So anyway, you can see right now it's not in there. If I go ahead into DNS, let me go back into the zone properties, and I say apply. Remember, I clicked on the other on the middle one. I'll move that out of the way, And in here, I'll refresh that window, and oops, I'll refresh this. And there it is. Okay, and you'll notice out of the default domain, default name and contacts, it has disappeared out of there. Refresh, and as you can see, it's gone. Anyway, that's the domain partitions. So there's also the forest DNS zones. You get into it the same way I connected it to the domain DNS zones. Just to show you, I know you probably have some questions on that. I'll just type in forest DNS zones right here. Just start typing DC equals forest DNS zones, comma DC equals datum, comma DC equals com. Now notice if I misspelled that, just to show you what kind of error I'll get. A referral was returned from the server. That just means it couldn't find it. That's what the referral was. It means it's trying to refer you to something else that can find it, but it has other to refer you to. So I'll just go ahead and correct my spelling here. And boom, and it works. Alrighty, let's get that out of the way. Let's go look at this other server here. This is LAN server 1. This is, let me log into this guy here. All right, you can see, I'm going to pull up PowerShell here, ipconfig /all. You can see that this server's IP is this guy right here. And this happens to be the DNS server, which is the DC, which is LAN server 1. That's what we want. If there's anything else in here, you wouldn't be able to find the domain. And you're asking, well, how do I know what logon servers log me in? That's a good question. You could use the setl command, which doesn't work in PowerShell, or echo %logon server %, and that doesn't work in here either. It just verbatimly says, oh, I'll just type in %logon server % because it is PowerShell. It's trying to do what you're asking to. What I want is I want to get I need to see what that is. So I'll just go ahead and open up a command prompt, and I can say setl. You can see my logon server's LAN DC1. All right here, and I'm going to right click. I always like to do this quick edit mode. Quick edit mode allows me the ability to highlight like that or hit enter, and that would be I copy. You can see that anyway. The other one is echo %logon server that didn't work under PowerShell, and you can see that it works here. Okay, this tells me who's my login server. Now, if I had gone ahead and changed this IP address right in here, I could actually cause some major problems with it. If I go into the NIC right here, network card, and change it, and this is something I do not recommend. I could change this here to like my ISPs. You know, I'll put down. I don't know what's Comcast. Or Verizon. I don't know. 68, 68, 68, 68. I'm going to have some major problems with it. I'm trying to remember, think of a good way to demonstrate this. Basically, let's just do this. NS lookup. And I'll say, right now, see, it's trying to enumerate the 6868. It has no idea where that server is. I don't have internet access with this lab here, but even whether I did or not, still, it's not going to be helpful because I want to find LAN-DC1. All right, server, as it says, server unknown. Unknown means it doesn't know what the name of this server is. That's what it tries to do. You can see how it's not working here. It's not going to find my domain. And LAN-DC1 is spelled that way, just so you know. LAN-DC1. Let me go back to LAN server 1 here. And you can see it's just going crazy. It's just not going to be able to find it. So that's what's going to happen during your boot process or your login process as well. I'm going to just Control C this to get out of it. I'm going to change the server to 10. Oh, what was it? 172.16.0.10. 172.16.0.10. Okay, it still doesn't have it still says can't find the name here. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? You know what that's from? That's just by the mere fact that there's no reverse zone. Let's take a look at the zones here. and I'll fix that real quick. You can see there's no reverse zone. I'm going to create a new zone here. Primary zone is going to store it in AD. That's fine with me. I'm going to put it in domain DNS zones, and it's going to be an IP4 reverse zone. Network ID is going to be 172. What did I say it was? 16.10. Let me just go look at here. 172.16.0. I'm glad I looked at that. All right, next. Allow secure, only secure dynamic updates. That's what I want. And I'll finish. You can see now where it is here. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to open up a command prompt, CMD. I'd rather use that. IP config. I mean, there's different times when I use PowerShell window or the command prompt. IP config slash register DNS. This will force registration of the IP address of this server into the reverse zone, or actually all zones that it pertains. So if I go in here and refresh it, you can see that the server has now a PTR record or a pointer record. That's nice. That's what I wanted. Okay, I will go back to LAN server 1, and I'm going to say LAN-DC1, and notice now it still comes up with this because it still it hasn't resolved the London server here, but it did resolve the name itself. So I'm going to just exit out. Go back to NS lookup, and I know it's going to go crazy now because it's still got that 68 number in there. I'm going to say LAN-DC1, and it's still not coming back because, you know why? Because it's using this. So let's Control C that to get it out of there. I'm going to change the server to 172.16.0.10. That's funny how it's still not resolving that. But I can still do LAN-DC1 and it'll resolve that. Another client that I have on here is LAN-CL1. Okay, it's funny how this is still not resolving. Let's close out of this, open up a new command window, and let's look up. Okay, Control C that because it's still got the, oops, I want that to go in there. Okay, now if I change server to 172.16. See, it's still not resolving. That's where that's kind of not expected there. Anyway, I'm going to go back in and change the IP address back to what it should be for IP4 here. 172.16.0. Yeah, 16.0.10. That's what I want to see. That's a nice clean NS lookup right there. All right, now I can type in LAN-CL1. That's for the client machine. You can see it comes right up. This is what we like to see. This is the result of having a reverse zone, and this is the result of a clean resolution using the this DNS server. That's what we want. Anyway, there's not much else to it. My next video, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I'm going to talk about how to resolve duplicate zones. I know that's a big topic as well. And I'm also going to have a separate video on DNS, the partitions and such. And so, you know what? I'm going to just go over a little bit over here right now. Well, why not? Because I already have this up and running. As you saw already, I was in ADSI Edit. You can see how I was able to change the zone from the default domain context, which is a pre-Windows 2000. Once again, I'll bring up the zone here. I'm going to actually create another new zone here, just called test. And notice where I'm putting it. It's going into domain DNS zones, right? Remember, this is forest DNS zones, domain DNS zones, and this is I'm sorry, this is forest DNS zones. This is domain DNSOs. This is the pre-Windows, I'm sorry, the Windows 2000 compatible location. Because back in Windows 2000, they didn't have, Windows 2000 didn't support or even have the feature for domain DNS or forest DNS partitions. That was something that came out with Windows 2003. So I could tell if a system has been upgraded from Windows 2000 or not, even if it's up to 2012 R2. I could tell that if the AD domain was originally created with 2000, just by the mere fact that there's any zones that are still stored that way. There's a number of other ways I could tell as well. The AD tombstone, TTL, that's another red flag, because prior to 2003 Service Pack 1, it was 60 days. Service Pack 1 and newer, if it was installed fresh, whole fresh FARs with 2003 Service Pack 1 CD-ROM or newer, it would be 180 days. I mean, you could easily change that in ADSI edit, but anyway, I'm going to put right in the main DNS zones. It's going to be test.com, and I'm going to allow updates. Sure. Finished. Notice that now test.com here is up. I want to double click on it so I can get it focused, so I can get my context, right-click context here. Anyway, you can see it's set to secure only. You can see where it's being stored. Move this off to the right. Alrighty, and I'm going to look at ADSI edit. I'm going to squeeze that window down a bit here, because I'm also going to open up Windows Explorer. You're going to say, why am I doing that? Well, because I got something I want to show you here. I'm trying to resize this so I could fit it on the bottom here. Actually, I want a little bit bigger here. Okay. I'm going to go to C drive, Windows. I'll try to open this Windows. System 32 and DNS. You're going to say, well, am I going in there? Well, I don't have any zones in there. Watch when I take this. Watch when I take this out of Active Directory. All right. Whoops. Right here. Whoops. I want to uncheck this. Do not store an AD any longer. Watch down here in the bottom left under the DNS folder. Watch what happens. Hit apply, and there's test.com.dns, and there's the actual data. I'm going to use Notepad to open it up. This was the zone. There's nothing in it, but that's actually a text file now. Notice that once I've done that, I have no longer do I have the ability to do secure only. And notice that if I say OK to this, see the security tab right now, because remember this was just changed from AD integrated. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to go back into it. Double click just to focus there. Bring it to focus, and bring it to the focus window, or the zone, I mean. And you can see now the security tab's gone, and there's you can't do secure only. Because there's no security. Security actually comes from Active Directory. And you can see under here, well, you can see it's going to be gone out of here anyway. If I take it down to domain DNS zones, well, I never refreshed it to show you that it was in there. Anyway, I'm going to change it back to stored AD. Yes. And watch down here. I'll hit apply. And gone. Pretty cool, huh? Now I'm going to go over here, refresh that in ADSI edit, and guess what? There it is. All right. There's also the reverse zone. I forgot about that. All right, and you can see if I double click on test.com, you can see there's no records in it. So if I go in test.com and I'll say, hey, new host record, I want to call it a ACE. IP address is 1.1. Doesn't matter, you know. I'm not going to say create an associated PTR record because I don't have that zone. Hey, you know what? Let me do something here. 55. Now I'm going to say create reverse record. Okay, we've created. I'm going to go in here. Oops, we say done here. You can see it here. If I refresh that, you can see that's the record I just created. And you can see test.com, that's the record I just created there. I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to actually take this out of AD. Watch again. Why do I want to do that? I want to show you what this ACE record looks like in the zone file. All right. Notepad, you can see that's what it looks like there. So if I go ahead and turn around there and type in another record, I'll just say it's an A record, 172.16.0.56, and let's see if this works here. This is playing with the zone, right? Playing with zone data. I'm going to say it here, test.com, I'm going to say reload. This way, it doesn't like this window open here. See, it doesn't like the way reload, baby. Come on, let's go. Yes, there it is. Okay, it caught it. That's how you manipulate the zone data. It's just a text file. See, the problem with the text file, though, if we're not going to say the machine's good if the machine gets hacked. I mean, obviously, if it's a domain controller gets hacked, there's more problems than just worrying about your zone data. But it's just the fact that it's not it's a text record, that it could be altered. Maybe somebody internally could mess with it, not only if they, I don't know. That's kind of here or there if they're going to gain some kind of security to break security to get to the zone data. But the point of it is during zone transfers that it's not going to be seen, because it's not going to get transferred. When they're AD integrated zones, there is no such thing as a transfer between DCs, because once you make an AD integrated zone, all the DCs that have DNS installed are going to be part of the replication scope of that zone. So therefore, the zone data will get replicated between the DCs as part of the AD replication process. It's slightly different schedule. I'm not going to get into that, but that's the effect of it. There is no zone transfer. Zone transfers with text files, like between two machines that are primary secondary zones, you're going to get data going across the network that can be intercepted. With AD integrated zones, you're not going to get that problem. I'm going to go back in here, and let me go back into test.com's properties. Let me minimize this guy here. I'm going to change him back to AD integrated. I store it back in there, yes. And I'm going to, just for laughs and giggles, I'm going to put it in the forest domain, just so you can see. Well, first of all, you're going to see it disappear down here, then up here, going under forest data zones, and you can see there's test.com. There's my buddy. There he is. All right, it's really relatively simple. This just shows how different options to store data just to store DNS data. All right, I'm going to leave that alone. Quickly about another thing about DNS here is pretty cool, is the way the Microsoft Domain Controller Services subfolder is being, you can see it's grayed out. That's actually being delegated, in this case, to itself, meaning here's the zone up here. This is the zone here. If you look at it, it's actually replicated forest-wide. This way it's available to all DCs in the whole forest, DCs and any other DCs in any other tree. Significant of this is that in Windows 2000 it was a little difficult to deal with forest-wide resolution. That's why we had to come up with some kind of really funky, not funky, but creative parent-child DNS delegation. I actually have a separate blog on how to do that. So that's part of the reason why in 2003 and newer forest and the forest DNS zone came out as an option. So no matter, but it only works with 2003 and newer servers. Anyway, that's why that is. And here you have your global catalogs, and sometimes in here, if I could see that there's incorrect data in here, that's going to cause a problem with machines trying to log in and users trying to log in as well, because GCs are part of the login process. And plus, with the global catalog, part of logon process is it's got to enumerate any universal groups you belong to, and the only way to do that is with access to a GC. If GC is not accessible, then the logon process fails because it can't enumerate your login. But that's another story as well. So there's a lot to it. I don't know. I'm just kind of give you a brief overview here of this. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about here? Sites, oh yeah, when you're looking at the zone properties, any one of these zones, you look at the name server tabs. These name servers here better, it's funny how this comes up as unknown here. I'll say edit, and I'll tell it to resolve. Hey, resolve. So this is actually what we want to see. I don't know why it was coming up like that before. And this was a clean installation. Let me go look at datum.com name servers. See, that one's correct there. And of course, test.com, because I created it after the fact here, should be as well. Oh, look at that. It's not. So I'll just hit a quick resolve here. I believe if I restarted the DNS service, it may have straightened it out. But anyway, when you're trying to clean up an AD infrastructure, you want to make sure that all this name server list here is correct for all the DCs that exist. If there's DCs in here that have been orphaned for one reason or another, they should be removed. Removed out of here, removed out of the AD database with the NTDS util metadata cleanup process, or with the newer 2012 and R2 2012 and newer, you can actually just delete the server out of the ADUC. It'll automatically remove all its references out of the AD database, which is really cool. But you know what? Maybe in old-fashioned, I'll still use a metadata process metadata cleanup process just to go take a look at the actual database and see if there's anything else in there that I might want to remove that I don't want in there. Let me see. That's about it for tonight. I'm going to talk about my next video, which I'll try to get out in the next few nights. It's going to be about AD duplicate zones. That's going to be a difficult one to explain or to show, because to create the duplicate zones is another factor. But anyway, I'm going to sign off. Everybody, hopefully you have a safe and wonderful day. Take care.